You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
So if a spoon is made of gold, can it still be called silverware? Oh, hey, you made it. Glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your hosts, Keith Wheeler
and Nuria Corby.
And Nuria, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about starting a business. The topic is starting a business today.
Right. And when we say starting a business, we're mostly going to be talking about like at-home businesses and businesses online, that kind of stuff. So, So Nuria, I know that you've had a lot of experiences with different types of businesses that you've started. So if our listeners were going to start a business today, like they wanted to get in, what kind of suggestions would you have for them?
I thought about this, and the first thing that hit me when I thought about the subject is how different it is starting businesses in different locations. So it really depends on where you are in the world, because in some countries, it's a lot easier to start a business than in others. Like here in the UK, where I am, it's really easy to start a business. You just have to register as self-employed and you are a business. And then obviously you can become a limited company, and there's partnerships, there's all sorts of other things. But the actual starting is really simple. And I know that in Spain, when I was living there, it was completely different. There's a lot more paperwork that has to be filled out. There's a lot more bureaucracy. And I know that in Germany, it can be a bit more difficult than here. So it just depends on where you are in the world. But I think that my view is that if you want to do something, just do it. Just get started. You'll find a way. And I think that today we've got so many opportunities online. I mean, just something we didn't have before. And it's a relatively new thing. We didn't have computers when I was younger. So I think that we've got a world of opportunities when it comes to online businesses and working from home. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that is all you need is really an idea, idea and a drive to see that idea, to make it come to life. It's not something that you necessarily have to like drop your day job and to do and go all in. You can start a business in a lot of times for very little, if any, money to start with. Absolutely. Especially with online. As long as you have an internet connection, there's so many opportunities out there. And I've also, going back to what you were saying about how we didn't really have computers when we were little. The number of young people starting out businesses. I mean, I've seen, people that are, teenagers that have started their own businesses, and, they seem to be getting younger and younger and a lot of times smarter and smarter than I am. Yeah. And it's just the online world that we live in now. And I know that, especially in the last few years when people are staying home more now than ever, then, at-home businesses and online businesses are something that pretty much anybody can really do. Again, like I said, as long as you have an idea and at least a little bit of drive to take it to that next step.
Absolutely. But you said, all you have to have is an idea. I remember when I first started, that was the most difficult thing. I kept thinking, what can I do? What can I do online? It was getting the idea that was so hard. I didn't have the idea. I didn't know how to start, what to start. I wasn't really familiar with online businesses or with the online world. Once you dip your toes in, I think it becomes a little bit easier. But right at the beginning, I hadn't a clue what to do. And I remember thinking, what can I do? Because I knew that if I did start something, I could make a success of it, but I just didn't know what to start. And I think that's where now we have an advantage as well, because we can go online and search for ideas. So that's something that I didn't have in those days, or I didn't know how to do. It's all about really having the courage to do something and finding a way to do something. I think a lot of people don't really research enough. They kind of think, oh, what shall I do? I don't know what to do. But they don't actually sometimes really research that. I find that people don't use Google enough. I use Google for a lot of things.
No, I
Do
agree.
you find that? Do you feel that people don't dive into things more in more detail?
Yeah, I think that people, they get an idea, if they have an idea, and they're just like, oh, that sounds great, and then they just jump in, and they don't, they, like you said, they don't research it. They don't research what other people in that niche are doing. Because one thing that if you want to be successful in a business, I mean, you can start a business, but that doesn't mean you're going to be successful. If you want to be successful, then one of the things you need to do is you need to figure out what makes you different, what makes your business different. And the only way to know what makes you and your business different is to know the other players in that area. But getting back to what you were saying before about, it's one of the issues that some people have is not knowing what to do. It could be, I agree completely. It could be, not having an idea at all, or conversely, having too many ideas. I've got all these things I want to do. I'm interested in so many different areas. What should I focus on? And that can definitely stop you in your tracks as well. And that goes back to what you were just saying, is research. If you have a couple ideas or a dozen ideas or 100 ideas, whatever, research and find out, which one are you the most passionate about? Because when you start any business, it most of the time, 99.9% of the time, it's not gonna be a get rich quick. It's gonna be a marathon, not a sprint. And if it's not something you're passionate about, most of the time you'll quit. So many people ask me, why some people succeed and some people don't. And one of the main factors that I've seen in my experience is the people that didn't succeed stopped before they did. It's just you don't know if tomorrow's going to be that big break. Tomorrow's going to be that thing that changes your business around, and you'll never find out if you don't stay with it to see that. And most businesses don't turn a profit until physical businesses until like 5 years in.
Yeah.
And most people nowadays, their mentality is, everything's now.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to wait 5 years. Now, I'm not saying that, it's going to take 5 years to get your business, up and running and making a profit, because like we were saying, online is it's so easy. Not only is it more accessible than ever before, but so easy. I mean, there are so many different things that you can do that cost $0 to start,
Absolutely.
but I do agree 100% that it all starts with one, at least getting some general idea of what type of business you want to do or business is. If you don't have that idea, either way, research, going back to what you were saying before, is research, find out, again, what other people are doing in that niche. If you don't know what you want to do, then just write down on a piece of paper, what are some things that you enjoy doing? Always start, again, with something you're passionate about. And, it could be something as, I love reading books. Well, have you ever thought about writing books? That kind of stuff. But there's so many other things that, what kind of sports are you into? What kind of hobbies do you do? There's all different ways to make a business around your hobbies, your likes, your passions.
The other thing, you said about your passion, I think that's where I kind of went wrong with my jewelry business. In our previous episode, I talked a little bit about what I did previously in other businesses, and I had a jewelry business online, and my heart just wasn't into it. It just wasn't me somehow. And you're right, when you have a passion and you're passionate about it, the jewelry business worked, it was fine, but I just couldn't scale it in the way I could have scaled something that I was passionate about. So I think that does make a difference. You can start a business and not be that passionate about it, but how far can you take it if you don't
Right.
have a passion for it? So I think that's very important. And coming back to the research bit, I think sometimes people, they think they're researching, but what they're really doing is they're discouraging themselves
Right.
because they're finding things that are wrong with it. Really, they're saying, "Oh, I can't do this because so and so is already doing this," and kind of, and that to me always is an indication of they don't really want to do it. When you're giving yourself excuses not to do something, it's because you're really not that keen on doing it.
Mm.
And I see that a lot in people in the self-publishing business and other things as well. It's saturated, there's too many people doing it. And they're kind of excuses because you're seeing all that competition, you've done your research, and you're seeing all the obstacles in the way rather than researching for the good stuff, really.
Right.
So that's another thing. We stop ourselves. Half the time we stop ourselves from succeeding, really. And
Yeah.
it's so important not to do that.
Yeah. It's more like people are trying to give themselves permission to do something,
Mm.
and instead of guidance. I mean, the researching is supposed to help, to give you clarity and maybe some ideas, but not for giving you permission to do something, or to not do something in this case. So no,
Absolutely.
absolutely. I agree completely that if you're constantly deterring yourself from doing it, I mean, some of it is confidence, and I'm not going to be successful or whatever. Don't We could do a whole nother episode on self-confidence and stuff like that, but the important thing is focusing on what what can work. It doesn't have to work. I mean, I've had plenty of businesses that I've done that did not work, and that's okay, because
And it's fine.
I'd rather have one that didn't work, but I tried, than not knowing if it would have worked because I didn't
And,
try.
and not only that, it can lead you to one that does work.
Exactly.
If you have made mistakes and you're learning from them, it will lead you to something better. So nothing is wasted. There's no time wasted because you're learning all the time and it leads you in the right direction. So I think my advice would be just get started and research and see how it goes. Would you recommend that to people as well, or would
Yeah,
you be more cautious?
absolutely. Absolutely. And at the beginning of this episode, we were talking about, like starting a business, and we're talking about the like getting LLCs and that kind of stuff. You don't have to do that to start. To start, again, like I said, it's possible to start plenty of businesses with no money down.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that as like some sales pitch or anything like that. I mean, some examples are, you can do Amazon merch by Amazon.
Mhm.
I do that, and you have to get approved, but it doesn't cost you anything. There's plenty of print on demand. We do print on demand with our books, and again, we don't need to pay anything
Right.
to get it done. There are costs that you can do, but you don't have to. And so without that huge barrier of entry, the important thing is to find something, like I said, that you are passionate about. And even if it's not like your number one passion, because you might find that your number one passion is something that is truly saturated, and not that you still can't be successful in it, but if you don't have a spin or something that can make you stand out, then it might be harder for you to be visible. So it might take you longer to be successful. Sometimes it's as simple as, let's do something and try to get those small wins. Just get one sale or one customer or whatever, and that can just kind of boost to the next one. And
Yeah.
so it really does. It all comes down to research. Finding out, like I said, what other people are doing, what other people are doing that are working and what's not working. Going back to the online thing, nowadays you can go on pretty much any platform and see reviews of your customer or of your competitors, and
Mm.
and in those reviews you can see what they're doing right, and you can see what they're doing wrong. You can see what other
Yeah.
people are saying they didn't like about that company, or that business or that product or whatever, and that gives you ideas on what you can do to make yours better, to make yours different.
Yeah.
and again, that research is free. It just, I mean, it takes time, but as far as money, it doesn't take any. So
I think that is, you just said the word, it takes time. And I think that's what people sometimes shy away from, anything that takes time. When we talk about online businesses, a lot of the people that are drawn to that are drawn to it because they think it's a quick way of making money. And actually, it's not. Any business will take time. Whatever you're doing, whether it's online or not online, it will take time to create a business and to create an income. And I think that's what when you just said it takes time, that was the idea I just suddenly had, that some people shy away from that because they think it's going to take too much time. But really, I'm glad I started 2 years ago. So I'm now at this level. It does take time. So to me, that's not something that goes against it. It's, that's just how it is. Businesses take time.
Yeah, I agree, because it's, all good things in life do take time, right? I mean, like I said, I've got 4 kids, and as much as the day you bring them home, is a joy. It's all those little memories along the way in those years that culminate into the love that you have for that child, or or a pet or a friend or whatever. And so everything does take time. And I agree, just nowadays so many people are they want everything now, and they want to get rich quick. And just like with a relationship, I feel that even if you were the lucky one, 1 in a million that does start a business and just hits it big right off the bat, I don't think you'll appreciate it as much. I don't think you'll enjoy it as much as someone who put in the time to do it. It's like, my kids, when they were in high school, I made each and every one of them buy their own first car, and it made them appreciate that more than if I just given them a car. And so it's that same mentality where you have to, when you earn it, it means more. And so I think that just, and going back to what I was saying earlier, focusing on those little steps, the little things, the little successes, and even the little failures, those failures help build us to the next success. It's when you fail or succeed and you don't do anything with that's when you've really, in my opinion, failed. It's you're giving an opportunity, whether you've seen a success or you've seen a failure, you have an activity, you have an opportunity to build off of that. And that's when your business is really going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. And also, I think, you mentioned, even if you're lucky enough and you make it work straight away, I think most overnight successes are not overnight successes. They probably took 50 years in the making to get to that point, but we see them succeed almost like, overnight.
Right.
And really, that is not the case. Anybody who's really successful now has had a lot of time of being unsuccessful as well, and of making mistakes. And I can give you lots of examples. Really, you just have to just Google it, and you can see how many overnight successes there are. They're never overnight. They have taken their time, and they made a lot of mistakes along the way until they got there.
Yeah. And go back to do your research. Yeah, you can look it up on Google. But the other thing is, and I know we talked a lot about research today, but one thing that I also know that people do, because I've done it myself, is they research and then don't do anything with it. Because I need to research. I need to make sure I know exactly what I'm doing. My biggest thing would be to research, figure out what's going to make your business different, unique, get some ideas of what your competition's doing, and then do it.
Absolutely.
Your research can continue as you're doing whatever you're doing, whatever business you want to start. So if you want to start Merch by Amazon, first thing you want to do is you want to apply, because that can take, some people, I've heard, it takes 6 months to a year. I got accepted in 2 days.
I
I
still
don't
haven't
know.
been accepted. So
Yeah.
it's taken what, 2 years?
Yeah. So in your case, if you're really interested in doing merch by Amazon, I would just apply again.
Yeah.
And then, but while you're waiting, you can still research, you can still be creating designs, figuring out what is trending, what kind of things you want to create. Although I will say, not going to talk too much about merch, but I personally focus more on evergreen than on trending, because especially if you haven't even been accepted yet, what's trending now may not be trending when you finally get accepted. Do your research, figure out what kind of business you want to do, get some ideas, and then just do it,
I think we're talking about analysis paralysis here, which is another topic for another podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole nother episode. But yeah, you can definitely just analyze something to death, and actually I've done it myself, where I take the joy out of it, if I analyze too much.
We all do.
Well, this has been another great mastermind, Nuria. A big thank you to each and every one of the listeners and viewers who came to tag along. If you enjoyed today's mastermind, it would mean the world to us if you would follow or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite listening platform. And while you're at it, go on and leave us a review. So what are we going to be talking about next week?
Next week, we're going to be talking about shiny object syndrome. And the funny thing is, it reads SOS. So I think we need help.
I am absolutely, definitely someone who falls accustomed to that. So that should definitely be a good one. Until next week, I'm Keith Wheeler.
And I'm Nuria Colby.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.